Lauren Astley's story ended far too early, her life stolen in an act of violence carried out by someone she had once trusted completely. One late evening, her father, Malcolm Astley, received a shattering phone call. His daughter's car had been found abandoned in a lot near the beach. Without hesitation, he rushed to the scene, praying he might still have the chance to save her. Flashlight in hand, he walked the shoreline, scanning the restless black waves for any trace of her. But Lauren was nowhere to be seen. Back in school, many had admired the pair she once formed with Nathaniel Fuja, the tall, disciplined athlete, and Lauren, the lively, petite young woman. Though they had known one another for years, it wasn't until their senior year of high school that they became a couple. What began as a tender first love blossomed into a 3-year relationship. But something shifted. What had gone wrong? What could have pulled them apart so forcefully? And why would the truth be so difficult for others to accept? And before we dive into this case, please be kind enough to support my channel. Subscribe, like the video, and stay active. It really helps. I'll be grateful to you for that. Now let's begin. Lauren came into the world on April 1st, 1993 in Boston, Massachusetts. Her parents, Mary and Malcolm Astley, were both teachers who doted on their daughter. She was the center of their lives. From an early age, they instilled in her the value of honesty and integrity, hoping she would grow into a compassionate and upright young woman. In 2006, Mary and Malcolm divorced, though they continued to share custody and remained united in their devotion to Lauren. It's striking to remember she was only 18. Her life was already vibrant, filled with purpose, energy, and accomplishments. Lauren seemed to be everywhere at once, singing with a music group, playing both tennis and soccer, performing in her church choir, taking part in a youth symphony, working as a camp counselor, and even leading a stage production of Annie at the local arts center. Her schedule was always packed, leaving little free time. Though she stood just 4 feet 11 inches, her magnetic personality and charm made her unforgettable. The performing arts were her greatest love. With her strong, beautiful singing voice, she became a regular feature at school and community events. Landing the lead role in her high school's a cappella group was one of her proudest achievements. But Lauren didn't stop at music. She was deeply involved in organizing events and volunteering for charitable causes. Helping others, whether friends, family, or total strangers, was at the heart of who she was. Her classmates admired her openness and sincerity. People knew they could count on Lauren whenever they faced problems, and she never gave anything less than her full effort when asked to help. At only 12 years old, she traveled to New Orleans to assist victims of Hurricane Katrina, later returning twice more with friends to support flood survivors. Even as a child, she put the needs of others before her own. Her selfless acts spoke volumes about her character. Parents, teachers, peers, even strangers felt her warmth and kindness. At Wayland High School, Lauren was recognized not only for her academic dedication, but also for her passion for school life. She played sports, took part in concerts and competitions, and devoted herself to community projects, leaving lasting impressions everywhere she went. During these years, she grew into herself, with some peers even calling her a trendsetter. Her high energy and outgoing spirit made her someone others wanted to emulate. It was during high school that Lauren entered her first serious relationship. Around this time, she began dating Nathaniel Fuja, who also attended Wayland High. The two had known each other since they were children. Nathan, tall and athletic, was a star player on the school's football team. His speed, strength, and skill made him one of the most popular students on campus, admired and cheered for at every game. Yet despite the attention he received from countless admirers, his affection belonged only to Lauren, the spirited young woman who had captured his heart. Nathan was the son of Beth and Tom Fuja. His father was a talented and respected guitarist who also taught at Boston's Berklee College of Music. Tom's creativity and reputation made him stand out in the community, and in 2010 Lauren even interviewed him for a school project, which later found its way onto YouTube. Through her relationship with Nathaniel, she became a frequent guest at the Fuja home, welcomed warmly by Beth and Tom. Their parents grew familiar with each other as well, maintaining regular contact. For the first 2 years, the couple seemed like the perfect match. They spent countless hours together, playing sports, hanging out with friends, and savoring the carefree days of youth. But as time went on, cracks began to appear. Their relationship turned into a turbulent cycle. Arguments followed by reconciliations, breakups followed by makeups. One day they were deeply in love, the next, irritated by the smallest of things. Such instability is not uncommon even in adult relationships, but Nathan's jealousy made everything worse. He often drew the attention of other girls, yet when it came to Lauren, he grew possessive and controlling. At times, he felt she gave too much of herself to others, through her friendships, activities, and volunteer work, rather than focusing solely on him. By her senior year, Lauren was thinking seriously about the future, college, career, and the life she wanted to build. It was during this period that she began to realize Nathan no longer fit into her vision of what lay ahead. Tired of the constant strain, she started considering ending their relationship for good. Senior year is often a defining stage, a step into adulthood, with doors to opportunities swinging open. For Lauren, the next chapter was clear: college. She applied to Elon University in North Carolina, while Nathaniel secured a spot at Trinity College in Connecticut, where he had been recruited to play football, a dream he had cherished since childhood. Lauren's friends, fully aware of the troubles in her romance, decided to help her take the final step. Together, they made a list of reasons she should walk away. His temper, his jealousy, his aggressiveness, and his occasional disrespect, even toward his own mother. After reflecting, Lauren made her decision. On her birthday in April 2011, she ended the relationship. To her, it was a liberating moment, one of the happiest days of her life. The timing was right. With both of them heading to separate colleges in the fall, it was the natural point to part ways and move forward independently. For Nathan, however, the breakup was not closure. It was devastation. The dream of college football suddenly seemed irrelevant. All that consumed him was the loss of Lauren. Once an energetic and ambitious young man, Nathan withdrew into himself. Instead of practicing and training, he spent long hours lying on the couch, staring blankly. He stopped socializing, avoided his friends, and abandoned the routines that once defined him. During this time, he began drinking excessively and smoking marijuana daily. Though Lauren had ended things months earlier, she still worried about him. Despite all that had passed, she didn't want to see someone she had once cared for spiral downward. On more than one occasion, she asked friends if she should reach out, check in, or try to help him. Every time, they warned her against it, reminding her that any contact might give Nathan the false hope that their relationship could be rekindled. The summer of 2011 brought graduation, and Lauren was eager to enjoy her final months at home, surrounded by family and friends. To celebrate, her friends organized a large party under a big white tent, with about 150 students and recent graduates in attendance. Nathan was there too, mingling among the crowd. As the night went on, Lauren danced and laughed with friends. But Nathan, already drunk, couldn't stay away. He tried once again to reconcile, approaching her with slurred words and desperate pleas. Lauren, however, stood firm. She told him clearly to leave her alone. To her, everything had already been said too many times, in fact. She wanted to move forward, not revisit the past. And she knew that in his intoxicated state, nothing she said would truly register. But Nathan refused to accept rejection. He followed her throughout the night, hovering as she tried to enjoy herself. His anger grew, fueled by alcohol, and when she again dismissed his advances, he exploded. In a sudden outburst, he struck one of the tent poles with such force that the entire structure collapsed. The party came to a halt. The tent was eventually lifted and put back in place, but the atmosphere had shifted completely. Nathan's outburst had ruined the celebration. Friends and classmates turned against him, demanding he leave. For Lauren, it was a breaking point. Later that night, she confided in her mother, explaining how Nathan simply refused to let go. He was furious about the breakup, enraged that she wouldn't talk to him, and bitter at seeing her happy without him. Though things seemed to quiet down afterward, the seeds of danger were already planted. In the weeks following the party incident, Lauren tried to push forward. She accepted a summer job at a clothing store in the mall, determined to earn some money before heading to Elon University. On the morning of July 3, 2011, she arrived for her shift around 9:45 a.m., captured on security cameras, riding the escalator to the upper level. She worked the day as usual, her shift ending at 6:45 p.m. Cameras recorded her leaving the building, speaking on her phone as she walked out. That evening, she was supposed to meet friends for a walk, but she never showed. Almost immediately, concern set in. Lauren was known for being reliable. If her plans changed, she always found a way to let someone know. Her sudden silence was unusual, and her friends sensed something was wrong. Her father, Malcolm, grew uneasy as well. He knew her routine. She was supposed to return home after work, change clothes, and then go meet her friends. But she never arrived. That break from her usual habits was enough to trigger alarm. Without delay, Malcolm contacted the police and reported her missing. News of Lauren Astley's disappearance spread quickly throughout the community, and the shock was immediate. Friends, classmates, and neighbors began to worry. No one had seen her since she left work. Unlike many missing person cases where police wait before taking action, in this instance the investigation began immediately. That same night, officers discovered a chilling clue. Lauren's red Jeep was found parked at Wantown Beach, its windows rolled down. Inside were her laptop and bag, but Lauren herself was gone. The discovery left authorities with more questions than answers. Where had she gone after leaving her car? Why were her belongings left behind? The moment Malcolm heard about the Jeep, he rushed to the scene. He bolted from the vehicle straight toward the water, as if somehow he might still rescue his daughter. Flashlight in hand, he combed the shoreline, calling her name into the dark, restless waves. But there was nothing, no sound, no trace. Meanwhile, Lauren's friends gathered at the beach as soon as they learned of the discovery. Terrified, they sat on the sand through the night, hoping against hope that she would reappear. None of them yet considered the worst possibility. They thought maybe she had gone off somewhere, or perhaps there was some misunderstanding. Harm, in their minds, seemed unthinkable. Police wasted no time in questioning Lauren's circle, her friends, family, and anyone who might know where she had been headed that evening. At first, no one could imagine a reason anyone would want to hurt her. But as officers pressed deeper, one fact emerged. Lauren had recently broken up with her longtime boyfriend, Nathaniel Fuja. Her friends insisted that while Nathan had been moody and bitter about the breakup, he wasn't dangerous. He might be upset, but violence? That didn't seem possible. Yet investigators knew jealousy and heartbreak could be powerful motives. Nathan quickly became a person of interest. That same evening, police visited the Fuja home. Nathan and his mother, Beth, answered the door. Nathan told officers he had been home the entire night, which he presented as an alibi, though it wasn't especially strong. He admitted that earlier that day, Lauren had stopped by briefly, pulling into the driveway but never leaving her car. According to him, they had a short, awkward conversation before she drove off. He claimed he hadn't seen her since. On the surface, the story was plausible. Still, investigators were cautious. They knew Nathan had taken the breakup hard. He had withdrawn from friends, slipped into depression, and shown signs of heavy drinking and drug use. Beth had even taken steps to help him, arranging therapy sessions that he refused to attend. In desperation, she had gone to the mall where Lauren worked, hoping to speak with her directly about her son's struggles. She even asked a former boyfriend to try and talk Nathan through his emotions. Nothing seemed to make a difference. The following morning, just before sunrise, a cyclist pedaling along a road near the highway spotted something strange in a marsh. From a distance, it looked like debris floating in the water. But as she drew closer, the truth became horrifyingly clear. It was the body of a young woman. Authorities were called immediately. The victim was identified as Lauren Astley. She had been found roughly 5 miles from town, floating about 30 feet from the roadside. The grim discovery left the community stunned. At the beach the night before, her friends had still been clinging to hope, waiting beside her abandoned Jeep. They couldn't have imagined that by morning, she would be gone forever. Once her body was brought to shore, the cause of death became apparent. Detectives pulled back her shirt collar and revealed a fatal wound across her throat. An elastic cord was tangled in her hair. Just like that, the missing person case became a homicide investigation. Lauren's body was quickly transported to the medical examiner's office. Meanwhile, Malcolm held on to a desperate, fading hope that it wasn't her. That hope died the moment he was called upon to identify her. Confronted with his daughter's lifeless body, the weight of reality crushed him. His vibrant, talented, 18-year-old child was gone. After the heartbreaking discovery of Lauren's body, investigators turned their full attention to uncovering what had happened. The scene made one thing clear: her death was not an accident. She had been violently attacked. The wound to her throat and the cord found tangled in her hair left no doubt. Detectives quickly focused on Nathaniel Fuja. His recent breakup with Lauren, his erratic behavior, and his vague alibi placed him under intense scrutiny. They needed hard evidence, though, to link him to the crime. On July 4th, police obtained a warrant to search the Fuja residence, beginning in the garage. What they found was disturbing. There were visible traces of blood on the garage floor, on a doorknob, and even in the bathroom and kitchen sinks, spots that looked as if someone had tried to clean them away. The presence of bloodstains was a chilling indication that Lauren had been there. The search continued into the basement, where investigators came across a black sports bag. Inside was a pair of trainers caked in thick mud. In the attic, reached by a ladder from Nathan's bedroom, they discovered more incriminating items: bloodstained boots and clothing hidden away. The mud on the trainers drew immediate suspicion. To the naked eye, it resembled the marshy soil from the swamp where Lauren's body had been found. Samples were sent for forensic testing, and the results confirmed investigators' fears. The mud matched the marsh, and the blood on Nathan's clothing and boots belonged to Lauren. With this evidence in hand, police moved quickly. Nathaniel was officially named a suspect and placed on the wanted list. Just hours later, shortly after midnight on July 4th, he was located at a cousin's house in a nearby town. Officers arrested the 18-year-old football player without incident. When taken into custody, Nathan showed little emotion. During questioning, he remained silent, offering no explanation, no defense, no insight into his actions. His cold detachment continued in the weeks and months that followed, even as the case against him grew stronger. On August 23, 2011, Nathan appeared in court for a preliminary hearing. When asked for his plea, he whispered so softly it was barely audible, "Not guilty." The prosecution, however, suspected that his defense team was preparing an insanity plea, a strategy that could potentially lessen his punishment if successful. More details began to emerge as the case developed. It was revealed that the night before Lauren was killed, Nathan had phoned his cousin, inviting her to hang out. When she declined, saying she had other plans, Nathan abruptly hung up, frustrated. The following day, after learning about Lauren's death, the same cousin reached out to him. His response was chilling. He told her the murder weapon would never be found. He also admitted he had driven Lauren's red Jeep to the beach parking lot, leaving it there to make it look as though she had gone to the shore. His words revealed planning and an awareness of what he had done, contradicting the image of a confused young man acting in a moment of madness. During this period, another disturbing piece of history surfaced. Back in 2009, while Lauren and Nathan were going through one of their on and off phases, Lauren attended a school dance with friends. That night, she shared a dance and even a kiss with another young man. Nathan suddenly appeared, shoving the boy and threatening to slit his throat if he ever approached Lauren again. At the time, the incident faded into the background, but now, looking back, it exposed a much darker side to his jealousy. Friends and family had always known Nathan could be moody, especially when he drank, but few had realized the depth of his possessiveness. That earlier confrontation now seemed like a grim preview of what was to come. By the time the pretrial motions were underway, the prosecution had built a strong case. They argued that Nathan's anger, jealousy, and inability to accept the breakup had turned deadly. The defense, however, hinted that their argument would rest on Nathan's mental state. They claimed he was not of sound mind and therefore not fully responsible for his actions. The stage was set for what would become a difficult and emotional trial. When Nathan's trial finally began on February 13, 2013, more than 18 months had passed since Lauren Astley's death. The courtroom was tense, both families sitting in quiet grief as the young man who had once been admired now faced the weight of justice. From the outset, Nathan's defense team pursued one strategy: insanity. His lawyer openly acknowledged to the court that Nathan had killed Lauren, but argued that the central questions were not whether he had done it, but rather how and why. The defense insisted that Nathan was suffering from a severe mental illness. They painted a picture of a young man spiraling into darkness, withdrawn from friends, skipping football practice, and isolating himself almost completely. His sudden change alarmed those who knew him. Friends confirmed that in the months before Lauren's death, Nathan had stopped showing up for training and avoided conversations. Teachers and classmates worried about him. His mother, Beth, had convinced him to see a psychiatrist, who diagnosed him with serious depression. According to the defense, this was not just the heartbreak of a failed relationship. It was a profound mental disorder. The psychiatrist had recommended both therapy and medication, but Nathan refused treatment. The defense also pointed to the repeated head injuries he had suffered while playing football, claiming those, combined with daily marijuana use and heavy drinking, worsened his mental decline. They argued that on the night of Lauren's death, Nathan experienced a manic episode, leaving him unable to fully comprehend or control his actions. According to this version of events, Lauren went to Nathan's house out of concern. She feared he might hurt himself and felt obligated to check in, though she had no intention of rekindling their relationship. Nathan, however, was in a disturbed mental state. In the garage, their conversation spiraled. Seized by a sudden break from reality, he grabbed an elastic cord, wrapped it around her neck, and strangled her. Detached from his own body, he acted without awareness, continuing until she collapsed. Still in this disconnected state, he then slashed her throat repeatedly. The defense argued these actions were not the result of anger or planning, but of insanity. When it was the prosecution's turn, they painted a far different picture. Nathan's crime, they argued, was not the result of a breakdown. It was calculated, deliberate, and fueled by rage. They pointed to the timeline. Nathan had called Lauren's phone multiple times that day, insisting she stop by. He knew his parents would be gone. The last call was logged as she left work, confirming he coerced her into visiting his house. Once she arrived, she texted a single word, "Here," to let him know she had pulled in. It was the last message she would ever send. The autopsy revealed more than just strangulation and the throat wound. Lauren had defensive injuries on her hands and arms, proof that she had fought desperately for her life. The prosecution argued that this showed Nathan had full awareness of what he was doing. Lauren resisted, and he persisted. After the killing, they said, Nathan carefully concealed his crime. He removed his bloody boots, changed into clean tennis shoes, and walked over 4 miles to abandon Lauren's Jeep at the city beach parking lot. He then threw the keys down a storm drain. Returning home, he placed Lauren's body in his car and drove to a swamp. There, he waded 30 feet into the muck to dispose of her remains, seemingly believing she would sink. But she didn't. Later that night, witnesses saw Nathan driving back completely naked, windows down, music blasting, as though trying to wash away the evidence. At home, he cleaned blood from the garage, hid clothing and shoes in the attic, and waited for his parents to return. These steps, the prosecution argued, were not the actions of a man disconnected from reality, but of someone trying to cover his tracks. The trial brought experts from both sides. A forensic doctor for the defense testified that Nathan's severe depression, repeated concussions, and substance abuse left him incapable of understanding his actions were wrong. On the other hand, a state forensic examiner testified that the crime bore all the marks of deliberate planning and clear intent. The prosecution emphasized Nathan's past behavior. His threat years earlier at the dance, where he had warned another boy he would slit his throat for kissing Lauren. That, they argued, showed his long-standing jealousy and controlling nature. As the trial progressed, the courtroom grew heavier. Lauren's mother sat silently, holding her grief close, while her father listened intently, forced to relive the horror of what had been done to his daughter. The medical examiner testified that Lauren likely remained alive for several minutes after the attack, bleeding out slowly from her wounds, a detail that left the room shaken. By the time the trial concluded, the jurors were left with 2 opposing narratives. Nathan as a mentally ill young man acting in a break from reality, or Nathan as a jealous ex-boyfriend who meticulously planned and executed his former partner's murder. On March 7, 2013, the jury delivered its decision after a full day of discussion. Nathaniel Fuja was convicted of first-degree murder. Under Massachusetts law, that conviction carried an automatic sentence of life in prison, with no possibility of parole. As the verdict was read, the atmosphere in the courtroom was heavy with grief. Lauren's father, Malcolm, looked across the room at Nathan's parents, Beth and Tom, who had once welcomed his daughter like family. Both families were shattered. One had lost their only daughter, the other their only son. In a remarkable act of grace, Malcolm walked over and embraced them, showing that even in devastation, compassion could still exist. For the Astleys, the loss was beyond measure. Their daughter, bright, talented, and only just stepping into adulthood, was gone forever. For the Fujas, the child they had raised was now condemned to spend his life behind bars. Two families, once connected through love, were now bound forever by tragedy. Determined to honor Lauren's memory, her parents established the Lauren Astley Memorial Foundation. The organization reflected Lauren's passions, focusing on art, community projects, and educating teens about healthy, respectful relationships. Through it, Mary and Malcolm sought to turn their grief into something that could prevent others from experiencing the same heartbreak. But the fight wasn't over. In January 2024, the Massachusetts Supreme Court overturned a law that required offenders under the age of 20 at the time of their crime to serve life without parole. Since Nathan had been 18 when he killed Lauren, this ruling raised an agonizing possibility that one day, he might be eligible for release. For Lauren's parents, the thought is unbearable. They firmly believe that the man who ended their daughter's life should never walk free again. Lauren Astley had just turned 18. She was gifted, compassionate, and full of promise. Her story is remembered not only as a tragedy but also as a reminder of the dangers of jealousy and control, and of the importance of teaching young people what love should and should not be. If you've stayed with me until now, you are a true fan of true crime. Don't forget to subscribe, hit the like button, and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss future cases. See you in the next story.